Welcome to Factoring 101 for Beginning Algebra, Section 8.2, Factoring Trinomials, the Basic Method. There are several different methods for factoring trinomials. This tutorial is for the most basic trial and error problems. These problems are trinomials that are of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Factoring reverses multiplication, so let's look first at how we multiply to get the trinomial so that you can better understand where all of the pieces fit. Let me get a good pen here. Okay, let's say that we have x plus 1 times x plus 2. Just very simple. Alright, when we use the full method to multiply those, we multiply the first two terms together, x times x, and that gets us the x squared. The outside terms together give us 2 times x. The inside terms together give us 1 times x, or just x, and then the last two terms give us 1 times 2, which is 2. And then you'll see that the first two terms in each binomial are the only two terms that contribute to your x squared term, and the last two terms in each trinomial, the 1 and the 2 here, are the only two terms that contribute to your constant term. However, the middle term, which is going to be an x term, has the product of the outer terms and the product of the inner terms. Then you add those two together in the next step and wind up with your middle term. So we have x squared plus 2x plus 1x is 3x plus 2. And that's how we get the trinomial. So we actually have two products that contribute to the middle term, the 3x. So what we have to do is determine two factors of the constant that create that by either addition or subtraction, the middle term. Now the signs that are in the trinomial help contribute to how you're going to set that up exactly. The sign on the constant, if it's a plus, means that you will add to get the middle term, and the sign on the constant, if it's a minus, means that you'll subtract to get that middle term. So now let's erase that. Let's scoot up a little bit here. Alright, we're going to take this trinomial apart, not the same one we just did, but x squared, and let's do plus 10x, and let's do minus 24. So x squared plus 10x minus 24 is what we want to take apart. And let's look and ask ourselves what two factors of the constant, which is negative 24, will combine to give us the coefficient on x, which is 10. And since it's negative 24, we will have to subtract, as I mentioned before, to get that 10. 10 needs to be positive when we get there. So let's think about the factors of 24. There are 1 and 24, which if we subtract those, we'll get a 23, or a negative 23. That's not going to work. 2 and 12. And if we subtract those, we'll get a 10 or a negative 10. There we go. That's going to be the set that we use. Of course, there is another set. In fact, there are several other sets. But that's the set that's going to work. So we're going to take that set. And we need to first determine what our signs are going to be. If I need a positive 10, excuse me, and I have to subtract to get there, then the 12 will need to be positive, and the 2 will have to be negative. Forgive me, I've already changed my color back to blue. So what we'll have to do now is we break this down into two binomial factors, okay? The first terms are both going to create the x squared. So we'll use an x and an x. And of course the last two terms multiplied together will give me the 24. So that's where I'll put my two factors of 24, negative 2 and positive 12. Those will multiply together to give me a negative 24. And then when I multiply the outer product, I'll get positive 12x. The inner product will be negative 2. And when I combine those, I'll get 10. Positive 12x minus 2x gives me positive 10x. So that's the correct factorization there. Okay, let me see if I can make this a little smaller and kind of move it out of our way a little bit, and we'll do another example. Okay, so here's just another example. Let's try x squared minus 7x plus 10. So I know from the quadratic that since we have a positive 10, we'll have to add to get negative 7. And since 7 is negative, in order to be able to add to get negative 7, we'll have to have two negative factors of 10. So let's think about what those factors could be. We could have, for 10, we could have minus 1 and negative 10, which would give us a negative 11. That's not going to work. And we could have a negative 2 or a negative 5, which gives us negative 7. So that is the right combination there. So we will take that apart then, set up our two binomial factors. X, of course, is first in both of them again because I need that x squared term when I multiply the first terms together. And then the last terms have to multiply to give me a positive 10. So we'll put in a negative 2 and a negative 5. And together those two will give me a positive 10 when I multiply them. And then if I kind of double check my factors, the outside gives me negative 5x. Inside negative 2x. Push that up just, woo. Okay. And then that will give me the negative 7x that I want in the middle. So that gives us a second example, and that is the correct factorization right there.